Welcome, GeoTrig. This section is for 5-2, sum and difference formulas. The essential question is, what are the formulas in this section? Go. And here they are. All of the formulas here right at once. So just write these down and we'll have to explain what these are. So when we're talking sum and difference formulas, we're basically taking the sum of two angles. Angles, we have these two symbols represent alpha, beta. That's what we're using when we're representing two angles here. Instead of the theta, alpha and beta. So you're either taking the sum of two angles or the difference of two angles, and we have some neat properties. A bunch of cosine, sine, and tangent properties. We're going to be using those, and a lot of it, just for at least for the purposes of this lesson, are just going to be plug and chug. So let's try one of them. Use that cosine is the difference of two angles. So, cosine of a minus b equals all that. So let's actually apply that to some problem to use to verify an identity. So I'm going to verify that this thing on the left, cosine of a minus b over cosine of a times cosine of b, equals 1 plus tangent of a tangent of b. So we're going to use that new formula. So whenever I see like difference or sum of angles, I'm going to think, hey, I should probably use one of those sum or difference formulas. And I'm going to use the one we just learned. So I'm going to break up the left-hand side. So that's cosine of a cosine of a times cosine of b over cosine of a times cosine of b. Oops, I just messed that up. Anyways, cosine of a cosine of b plus sine of a sine of b. So plus sine of a sine of b all over cosine a times cosine b equals the stuff on the left. All right, not breaking that down. So I can break this up into two parts. So we're going to have two different fractions going on here. Cosine of a cosine of b over cosine of a cosine of b. Guess what? That's going to be like 1 over 1. So that's just going to be 1 plus sine of a sine of b over cosine of a cosine of b equals whatever's on the right. Now, here's the neat thing on the right. Or like I can go both ways. I'm going to choose to keep working on the left-hand side. I know I have sine over cosine is going to be tangent. So what I have is tangent of a, and sine b over cosine b is going to be tangent of b. And then 1 plus tangent of a, tangent of b. Hey, guess what? That's exactly the same thing I have on the left side, or on the right side. So guess what? We're done. Verified. And there's always more than one way you can do these identities. I could have worked the right, but that's how I chose to do it. As long as you show your work. Let's try to verify this identity. Tangent of x plus pi equals tangent of x. Now this is something that makes sense if you think back to graphing, because the period is just pi, so if it shifted to the right or left of pi, it's going to shift all those waves a little bit, but they're still going to go back to just the same spot the different waves went. It's the same graph if you actually graph that. But let's actually prove it using our new identities. So I'm going to break that up, and the x is going to be my a, and the pi is going to be my b. So it's going to break up in a tangent of a plus b, so it's going to be tangent of x plus tangent of pi over 1 minus tangent of x tangent of pi equals tangent of x. Alright, so what's tangent of pi? Well, we go back to our unit circle. I always like drawing this because I get confused. So pi happens halfway through there, and tangent is going to be sine over cosine. Your sine is your y value. It's 0 over 1. So tangent of pi is going to be 0. So these just cancel out. So what you're going to have here is tangent of x plus 0 over 1 minus tangent of x times 0. Well, times 0 is going to be 0. So you have tangent of x over 1, which is just tangent of x, equals, on the right-hand side, tangent of x. Checks out. That's kind of cool. Let's verify a different identity. So we're going to verify that sine of x plus 2 pi equals sine of x, which makes sense because the period's 2 pi, so if you shift it 2 pi, you'll have the same graph. Okay, but let's verify that. So I got my formula again. This is my a, is going to be my x, and 2 pi is going to be my b. So I'm going to have sine of x times cosine of 2 pi plus cosine of x times sine of 2 pi. Well, what's cosine of 2 pi? If you're doing the unit circle, it's all the way around. It's that same thing as cosine of 0, and that's the x values. So cosine of 2 pi That's, and that equals sine of x. My bad up here. So cosine of 2 pi is the x values. That's going to be 1. Plus cosine of x. And the sine of 2 pi, that's the y value right there, is going to be 0. So cosine of x times 0 equals sine of x. Well, that means anything times 0 is 0, so that just cancels out. So left with sine of x times 1, or just sine of x, equals sine of x. Hey, checks out. Cool. That's it.